Getting into the draft, some of the picks and bans for SKT will be different. We talked about the fact that they're not really a Rise team. Easyhoon can play it in the mid lane. Maren, crucially, hasn't been playing it. 5.13, Rise is still going to be relevant. With the changes in 5.14, maybe that will help SKT because it feels like he's falling out of the meta fast.
Well, we will have to wait and see on that. Kalista still banned very frequently, although it has gone down. Azir banned against Easyhoon. And there's the Rise, so pretty standard stuff. And Frozen not really wanting to compete with Easyhoon's Azir. Nidalee banned against Tom. Now that makes sense. Tom much more of a scrappy mechanical jungler for those of you who haven't seen him, rather than a more control-oriented jungler like Bengi is. He likes to fight, he likes to skirmish early.
And honestly, that's really the MO for a lot of these SKT members. It's a reason why their average kill participations are much lower than other teams. For example, the Pooh Tigers, is that they do play his skirmish styles. You know, for example, Maren loves to brawl, gets a lot of solo kills. It's one of the issues they have with the current meta is that when champions like Shen and TF come back, if you're a team that always builds for lane, for example, Maren's Gnar, always building that Black Cleaver, even if it's not really beneficial for the team fights or the identity of the overall comp, if you've got those globals to account for, that's where SKT recently at least have been tripping over a little bit, is accounting for just the globals that are in the meta.
And they need to adapt, right? We need to probably see some Shen from Maren at some point. In order to justify this. No Ezreal ban so far, but maybe they're a little less worried about that from Easyhoon. Braum will be the first pick of the draft, and that will be a nice answer to a possible Runeglaive Ezreal from SK Telecom. But remember, IM has had no problems in early picking Ezreal and just making the enemy deal with it.
Waiting to see what the introduction of Tom and Easyhoon will do. If you look at Easyhoon's recently played, still a lot of Azir, which of course is banned out here. Of course, no incentive to show your best champions, especially if you knew in advance that you'd be playing today. So always exciting to think of a new champion for Easyhoon's champion pool, because traditionally, just like some players like Goong had that kind of limited champion pool, at least in the competitive scene.
Yeah, that is true. Tom hovering over the Echo right now, a champion that hasn't really seen a lot of play from SKT. Bengi has only brought it out once or twice.
Well, they pair it with, though. It feels like Echo, you get the CC in the lanes. If it's the likes of Maokai on top, especially, it can be very, very powerful. It does create zones, and now suddenly you have the zone of the parallel convergence and also the Victor W in a team fight.
I wonder what they're going for here, because we know Tom is a very good Gragas player mechanically, but they're actually choosing the Echo above the Gragas pick. And usually we only see Echo here in Korea when we do have things like both Rek'Sai and Gragas banned.
It's usually the jungle bans. Only two jungle bans have been registered with Rek'Sai and Nidalee banned, but as you say, taking the priority over Gragas. He's undefeated this season on Gragas' most played. Of course, only a 4-game sample size, so not really a big statistic. Excellent turret taking, though, is all I can tell so far. You put down the Victor W, threaten the parallel convergence. That should allow a lot of damage onto turrets, and if Bang picks up the Corki, could just be one of these mid-game comps that SKT is so well known for.
It could very well be. Well, Gragas is the... Well, nope, they're going to switch it to the Evelynn at the last second, and taking Gnar, that champion that we have seen frequently banned against Xpecial here. So he is confident in any matchup, which he should be. Gnar is pretty safe.
And the spooky Evelynn, something about that, again, makes me smile like a
He's
sweet
invisible.
bud. Yeah, it's pretty damn spooky. As SKT, they seem to be piling disengage and zone control if they do lock in this Janna.
Yeah, this is a very interesting draft from SK Telecom, and the Janna will be locked in, one of Wolf's best champions historically. They're going back to the Vayne for Bang, something that SKT has been playing a lot recently. Bang is not a very flashy Vayne player, more of a workhorse cleanup Vayne player, but it has worked for them. I would say it's not as successful as some of their other champions, like Corki, for instance, but they keep on picking it.
And look, in the LPL, Vayne has really loomed as a massive pick, so maybe it's just taking some inspiration from there. It's got so much zone control, both direct in terms of the Victor W and all of Janna's disengage, and of course the threat of the parallel convergence. There's a lot to account for, and honestly, if they could have a do-over, it almost feels like the Olaf is really being demanded from the IM side, because Vayne's already looking pretty deceptively safe in the backline.
Yeah, there's no primary engage yet from IM. They've shown their top laner, jungler, and support, which are the positions that primary engage comes from, unless you have an Azir, but they've banned that right out. So where do you go? You pretty much have to play full disengage, and that is going to mean an Ezreal here in the mid lane. Now, SK Telecom as a team with Faker and Bengi has really done a good job of shutting down low wave clear champions like Ezreal, like Kassadin, like Cassiopeia, but is that synergy and teamwork going to be there when the mid jungle changes?
Can't, of course, loop in a Twisted Fate or anything like that, so it's going to be the Maokai for the backline third. Okay, this is a champion Marin plays very, very well. Two comps that, honestly, a lot better going backwards. Specifically the LZIM, of course, the IM lineup was mostly going to be safe with disengage, but it's on Marin, really, to be the big engage, and of course, Tom can throw in a hand as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think teleport flank is going to be a massive part of this game from SK Telecom because no one else is actually going to be able to threaten the backline. Echo is a great champion for kite compositions, but he just can't do very much when he has to get in there unless he gets very lucky with a parallel convergence and uses his flash or something like that. So it's not really very reliable here.
And Marin's had to pick the Maokai for comp. Remember, he's opting into this Gnar matchup. We've seen it multiple times. We've actually seen the Maokais start to get a little bit of an advantage. It does require a lot of help, whether that's the lane swap at level 1 or some jungle attention. And we've already discussed that Maokai and Echo have excellent synergy when we're talking about perma stun in a gank sense. So holding down Expression, that's loomed as a pretty popular strategy against IM, and maybe that's what's necessary to really get this comp rolling.
Yeah, they're going to have to look for those ganks onto the Gnar, and Expression has had a lot of deaths in lane. As you said, he has been focused very heavily a lot of the time, so he cannot split push, which is his main strength as a player. So we are going to get into the game pretty soon as everybody loads up, and we'll see if these compositions can do some work because they're a little bit awkward. SK Telecom versus LZIM. And we're going to get into the game right now. I guess we're not. We're just going to have some epic guitar solo while the camera zooms around the studio. We have a pause right now, it would appear. So we'll just headbang. Some nice metal here. Wolf's headbang. Oh, it's bang right there. Not headbanging in the booth, sadly.
It's amusing how inappropriate this is for the current situation.
Yeah, you're getting amped up, but nothing is actually happening.
Will a lot happen in the early game, though, Monte Cristo? Just find a decent transition to this game. It's one of those games where it feels like both teams are playing for the late game. Tom's the big kind of unknown. Echo, in the champions at least, has been an unknown factor because there's been no consistency compared to, say, the Chinese scene where it's really loomed as a top pick.
Yeah, but again, I think it's more of a situational pick here. We compare it to a lot of the other junglers, Rek'Sai, Gragas. It's just, there's so much more flexibility. Echo's very strong at what Echo does, but against Poke, he's pretty awful. So it's going to be an interesting time here to see if they can ever get onto this Ezreal and Tristana backline that IM has drafted. And they're definitely going to have an edge, and it's the burden of outplay is definitely on Marin here to actually threaten the Runeglaive Ezreal. I'm very curious to see how the ganking situation and the pressure situation in the mid lane is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, mid lane or top lane is the focus for Tom. If he can get the turret down of the AP Ezreal, that will of course be a massive factor. We've talked about the lack of instant wave clear for an Ezreal, so of course pushing down his turret will allow the Victor, as Faker is wont to do of course, to push in and roam, and maybe that's what needs to happen.
Well, that's the key, right? When we talk about the Victor versus Ezreal matchup is can you quickly take that first tower? Because that way you have the priority to go dive the side lanes. You really open up the map for yourself, and Ezreal has no way of responding. So you could play the game 5v4 effectively. It is quite handy, but like I said, when you come to EasyHoon and Tom, this is not a duo that we've known for that kind of forward play in the laning phase, chipping turrets early to get that level of an advantage. So, I mean, I really like the composition IM has drafted. If they can ward their flanks well and play in front of the dragon, they'll be in a good place. LZIM versus SK Telecom, game 1 here. Easy Hoon in the mid lane, of course, trying to step into the shoes of Faker, who is a damn good victor, if I do say so myself.
Both teams, with the comps they picked, really trying to fly a kite today in a sunny day in Seoul. Kiting backwards is the name of the game for the AD carry specifically, for Frozen as well. But Maokai, he's the one who really wants to get in there.
Yep, and Spooky just going to chase out Tom with a few hate spikes as the wards begin to drop in the top side of SK Telecom's jungle.
They have the double incentive for invading. They have the winning lane matchup of Na versus Maokai, and quite simply, they want to stop any level 1 camp from Maokai being taken by the saplings. So smart to come through for the invade, but can they actually spot out the lane matchup they want?
Yeah, they did do a very good job of warding for that. 2 wards able to spot where this start is coming through. And a little bit of a tussle right now. Bang will get tagged with the concussive blows, but Frozen chunked out right now, and he does not have a way to go home at the moment. So that is actually huge. Frozen ate a sapling and then skirmished there with the Vayne and the Victor. So lane swap coming through. We are going to see the top lane with the AD carries and supports from both teams. So they get the matchup, the Gnar versus Maokai, that we presume they wanted.
The Australian meta is engaged. It's, of course, just the bottom lane on the top.
Is that where you rotate the opposite direction of where you're supposed to, too?
We all saw that Simpsons episode, yes. That's exactly right. The toilets go the opposite way, and so do the bot lanes.
So do the rotations?
We'll wait and see.
I don't know. I've seen some of the OPL. I think I'm right.
They're the big victors here. They got chunked out okay in the mid lane, but now Frozen is in lane, is fine, so that wasn't a big deal. Maybe he just had to eat a biscuit, but they get the 1v1 matchup they want, they get the 2v2, they get what they picked for. And maybe they even have some predictability to Tom's path, because they know that he started on the bottom side of the map.
You know what surprises me as we see this Tristana in the game is that SK Telecom is not playing more Tristana themselves. It's always been a champion that Bang has prioritized throughout his career. And he is that kind of clean-up AD carry and can benefit from playing that Trist. But we just haven't seen that much of it recently. SK Telecom all about the Vayne.
The only top-flight AD carry that's been playing Tristana so far in Champions has been Okyu, who tries to mix in a little bit, but even then, it's been mainly the likes of Raw and also Sven who have been playing it a little bit as well. Marin is very overextended.
Yes, he is, and he's getting a trap expansion right in the Mega Gnar form. The stun will take him out. So Marin comes down, and Spooky with the very predictable gank right there. And Marin had used his Trinket Ward, but that was not going to be very useful up against this Evelynn. So had it plop down in the lane right there. And that's an early death for Marin, Expression with the first blood money.
Teleports straight back to lane, so he's going to do his best to stop the freeze that Expression was trying to engage in. It's been Expression who's the one that's been preyed upon, but Marin, one thing you can say about him, he loves pushing lane, he loves playing aggressively and building aggressively, and Spooky caught him out.
Yep, absolutely. Simple gank, so a mistake from Marin early, and that will be picked up by LZIM. So they start with an advantage this game, up to 800 gold right now. That differential as Expression going to safely farm under his turret, and now looks like Marin, he's on for a bit of a gank on the mid lane, one would assume. They want to shut down the Runeglaive Ez, and they don't see this coming. Flash going to be coming in, and there we go. There's the stun. Frozen just going to be locked up and destroyed. Great gank from SK Telecom, just subverting the wards right there. Easily done. Great positioning on that parallel convergence to catch him after the arcane shift.
And honestly, it was poetry in motion. We've seen so much of the Echo, but we don't see it so clean as Tom was able to put out. It was very smart positioning on the parallel convergence. Frozen just completely caught out, has Summoner Spell, Smite. You're not able to take Cleanse. That's not a luxury that you're denied as the Ezreal. And Maokai there to follow it up. Very nice play from SKT.
Absolutely. So, Pink Ward now down in the lane for Marin. He doesn't want any further shenanigans, but he's a level back. Expression about to hit that Mega Gnar, and Marin just has to play defensively under his turret. He's up a Doran's item, but that is not going to be enough right now to really deal with Expression's aggression. Spooky also will find and kill that pink ward, so SKT will be slightly more vulnerable on that bottom side of the map.
It's just a very limited sample size of games to draw from where Marin's picked into a losing matchup and also fallen behind early. There's not really an item that he can pick up to really try and get ahead of Expression. He's just going to get tanky. He's going to pick up a Catalyst, probably just build into Righteous Glory. If you don't have that scenario where Marin is on, say, the Fizz versus Maokai or gets a big advantage early, how is that going to affect SKT's rotations come the mid game? Because they usually rotate around lane power, 1v1 supremacy for Marin.
Yeah, they definitely do. And he needs to get that gold lead too. He takes up so much of his team's resources. Putting him behind early, especially on a champion like Maokai, could be problematic, although Maokai not that item dependent. Usually we see him fall behind early on Rumble and redeem himself in the mid game.
The question is he okay, or can the team function with him, you know, dealing with scraps, building for team fights rather than for lane, and just falling behind the Gnar, who's already got the Hex Drink and just going to wail away on the kind of helpless tree at this point.
Rough scenario, but Marin, in spite of the roam, in spite of the death, not falling behind when it comes to CS. And in fact, he is going to be able to deny a little bit off of Expression's recall right there. Expression wants to keep his TP advantage for the moment. Bang and Wolf also holding their own in a pretty bad lane matchup. Janna Vayne, not a great lane to be in. There's no really setup for the Vayne to go aggressive.
Really interesting first shot coming through from Frozen. You might think the Runeglaive, but no, of course, he only got the Ranger's Trailblazer, not building the Sheen first, so no mana sustain. He's obviously identified that his turret going down or him losing lane control is important enough to just build an item that really only functions as wave clear.
I think that's smart at this point, especially because he's down. He's going to be losing those trades anyway. And so why not just try and take that out? Expression just going to peek into the top side right now. Wants to get a ward down on the blue buff, but this blue buff is going to be very important for EasyHoon. He's got to get some damage down onto that tower right now, because if he doesn't get that lane advantage and Roar is able to take out the top side, there is going to be a lot of difficulty for SK Telecom in terms of holding their outer ring of towers.
Wolf is going for a walk. He's caught between two people. The Winter's Bite misses. Still draws the flash, though.
Wolf roaming around by himself, and some nice invasions going down. IM playing the map well so far.
Spooky in particular.
Yeah.
His map movements, whether it was the successful gank in bot or just being on the same wavelength as jungler. It's a really nice rotation play. Tom's trying to steal red.
He's gonna get it too, but there is Gnar on the bottom side, and this is so Tom right now. Has to flash over. He is going to chrono break back around. There's the hop. Expression tries to hit him with the boulder, and Frozen will pick up double buff. Spooky in trouble in the river, though, as he got isolated. He did have to flash that wall, and now the dragon attacking, but SKT doesn't have the jungler to finish it, and that is very Tom. He likes to take risks.
Yeah, he was punished. That's the thing, is that we didn't know whether this IM lineup, remember, this is a rejigged IM lineup. Spooky's only played 3 games. But they're on the same wavelength. They're playing together well, and now Frozen has double buffs. Whether it's AD or AP Ezreal, double buff Ezreal is a fearsome thing. And finally, even though, once again, no laning statistics outside the Dorans, he actually has quite a lot of lane control now.
Yeah, he does, and that is an absolute disaster. Giving him the kill, too. I mean, EasyHoon was doing a great job keeping him behind in terms of CS. He's opened up and maintained about a 20 farm gap there, but that is just pretty terrible right now. And you can see this Tristana starting to get to the turret in the top. Has taken down the HP by about a third. So IM actually doing quite well in this one.
EasyHoon is the one where if he got ahead, remember, he's the only true wave clear on this lineup. They have Vayne for AD carry. They're not getting wave clear from lane. If EasyHoon was ever caught out, if he ever falls behind, the likes of Raw can just smash down turrets. Of course, we remember the biggest comeback wins. What are we seeing on the map?
We're seeing a dive right now. EasyHoon's going to come through. There's the Twisted Advance. Spooky there to respond, but Frozen is dead to Tom as the phase dive will finish off the kill. And that dive set up once again by SKT. They know what they need to do to keep this Ezreal behind. There's an exhaust coming through. Roar is chased off, and Ignar actually stunned into the wall. Here come the True Silver Bolt procs, so a nice trade as Ignar was caught in the river trying to respond to that gank. And SKT goes aggressive with their dual lane at the same time.
It's credit to Marin. He's actually kept up in CS despite giving up that first blood and rotated mid, out-rotating Expression. It's nice team play from Marin.
Yep, got a kill too, got an assist, so he has some money in his pocket, probably about even with Expression right now. So Marin really doing well on the map, makes up for Tom's mistakes. Tom gets his double buffs back in the end.
Frozen's able to buy
or just a single buff.
Able to finish the Rune Glaive, but already very deceptively easy to dive. And when we're talking about the massive amount of CC that Tom and Easy can put out and the burst from mid lane, it's going to be difficult to get this Ezreal through the laning phase, especially a lot more difficult as last time, as Marin's going to get on top, but Ignar misses the Winter Spike back in.
There's the Glacial Fissure, and there's the damage from the Tristana Emar, and trying to live, he will not, cannot get back to his turn in time. And they catch him unawares with a lane swap, having that BF sword, and Marin no armor quite yet, just that catalyst. So they put their dual lane and their top lane down there at the same time. And can they get the dragon out of this? Spooky will chunk out Wolf just a smidge.
If we learned anything about KT Rolster yesterday, it's about playing around your place of powers. Ignar's taking a lot of burst as well. Looks like it's going to be a dragon contest.
Yeah, and there's no TP for Marin here, remember that. But there's the Agony's Embrace. SKT trying to bottle him up in the big. Gravity Field already down. There's the Chaos Storm used afterwards. They're going to get a kill. Chrono Break will save Tom, so they take a kill in return for the dragon when the dust settles. So it looks like everyone going to have to recall on LZIM right now. So every time IM strikes, SK Telecom answers back with something.
IM had already invested in 3 pink wards around the dragon. That's why they felt confident starting it. So that's why it's important that SKT were able to answer back. Also why Marin was caught was that they've invested a lot in vision, just like KT was playing around their vision yesterday, but just bit off too much Ignar trying to get that last crucial ward down, and that's what made it just that much more even trade.
Well, IM was feeling comfortable too because Marin was in base with no TP, so it was just the Victor. EasyHoon doing a great job on the zoning, and that is the power of Victor right there. You're just able to block off choke points, and I love the way that he staggered his gravity field before he used the Chaos Storm. So there was always that AoE zone in the pit, didn't try and stack them on top of each other, and he bought more time for his team to get some auto attacks in there.
In general, the use of the parallel convergence as well has been on a different level than everyone buying maybe score when it comes to Echo players and champions. Team fights are going to be a treat because both Ezreal and Tristana, look, they have great repositions, but there's so many different CCs, both imminent and the delayed one of the parallel convergence, to have to account for in a fight.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see the difference between Bengi and Tom, because we look at Tom and just his moment-to-moment decision-making in these team fights is better than Bengi's. We can say that. His skill positioning is better, his usage is better, but his decision-making, like taking that red buff, not so good. He was in there by himself, no one able to collapse. Doesn't look like he's communicating very well with the rest of his team.
And that's why if you look at statistics, actually, they tell a story when it comes to percentage of team deaths. Now, of course, only 4 games for Tom, but does tell a tale. Bengi's around 20%. Tom's 26%, so 6% difference, because he goes on those solo invade missions like we saw at the enemy red buff and gets caught out just because he does these things alone. He's not playing with Wolf like Bengi does.
Yeah, definitely true. Also, Bengi, usually when we talk about Bengi, he's a smart player, a player who will know where to put pressure and will make very high probability plays. Tom likes to roll the dice a little bit more. Sometimes it works, but it's definitely, he is an aggressive player who likes to make the outplays. He has a certain amount of faith in himself.
Reminds me a little bit of Cacao in that way, which...
It's true, actually.
You know, that's definitely a compliment to a player who still hasn't firmly cemented himself in a team, despite when we see him, 100% win rate this season. We saw him playing back in the Champions Finals last season. Where is the spot for Marin, and is it necessarily on SKT?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Little poke right there, and EasyHoon doing a great job of taking out that tower early. See Expression here, of course, with that Hex Drinker building for the laning phase. And EasyHoon is only going to need a wave or two more, so they have stopped this Runeglaive Ezreal to a degree. Is it going to be enough? Of course, he's getting closer and closer to that Luden's Echo right now. Marin going to recall, or just faking it, looks like. Sticking around to save his turret, but it is taking a little more damage with every wave, and Expression going to get some nice autos. Actually, Expression making a bit of a mistake right there, walking up right as he was about to transform into Mininar. Dangerous.
Feels like the CS values also betray the fact that this is first place against 8th. When we're talking about lanes where we expect IM to doing well, it was that Gnar vs Maokai matchup. Despite dying for that first blood, Marin's ahead in CS.
And despite 2 roams, too, into the mid lane. So, I mean, Marin is a player who is very good at farming. He's actually number 2 in this league in terms of gold per minute, just behind Faker. So that means he's ahead of every AD carry and mid laner besides Faker. So that is an impressive feat, but Expression really wants this tower. That's actually an inopportune time to turn into the Mega Gnar, and that means Marin's going to go aggressive onto him, and he's going to go on the assault, but a quick Gnar ultimate will discourage him. Tries to catch him in the Maelstrom damage at the end.
Almost want to watch the replay just to see how Marin is ahead in CS, made more plays around the map. He was actually had an experience event. He was level 11 to level 10. I'm not sure where Gnar was playing, but you have to assume just trying to group with the team and not picking up CS or experience on the way.
Well, remember, he was down in the bottom lane too with the duo of Roar and Ignar to get a kill. So there have been moments like that where Expression has not been all by his lonesome and has used his time in that fashion. So mid tower goes down. SK Telecom now, this is where the wards go in. There's a use of the Blade of the Ruined King. Ignar be chased down and chunked right there. Bang will back off as the concussive blows come through, and this is where Faker really knows how to play the game. Bottle up the Runeglaive as at his tier 2 and try and affect the rest of the map. There's no one down here right now, but SK Telecom going to get some free damage onto this turret. Bai goes through, Infinity Edge complete just in time for this dragon spawn.
You could see EasyHoon, very twisted bait-like move. That's what you can do when you take out the outer turret. Just instant clear the wave. Just move towards the Raptor camp. And are you ganking bot? Are you staying in mid? There's no clear information just because they don't have pressure around their own red side jungle to even get some defensive vision to give them information on whether that roam, that 4-man dive is coming to the bot. So you know they're going to try and rotate around this advantage, and both Dragon and this mid outer turret is what they're really playing for.
All right, well, there's no duo there from SK Telecom at the moment. Gnar's going to get the top turret, so Expression grabs some gold from there. Is he going to go back? TP available for both top laners, and now Tom returning to that blue buff side of the jungle.
Gold actually very good from Frozen. He's actually kept up in gold despite the CS disadvantage. 30 CS behind, but of course can smite those high gold minions like the Raptor, for example. Needs to spend that 2,000 gold before this dragon comes through because he's just sitting on the Runeglaive.
Yes, he is. So he has to fall back right now. He did take a bit of damage from the blue buff, but he does heal that right back up with some biscuits from his inventory. And now Marin just wants to go in onto Expression. He's using that Mega Gnar form to get some more melee damage down and take that advantage. Backs off once the Mini Gnar form comes through again.
He's tired right now. This is the time to start Dragons. In about a minute window until Mega Gnar will be available again. SKT playing around the bottom lane. 4 members committed.
Yep. They just want to zone him off right now, though. They know Frozen can't really fight this at the moment, and there we go. There is going to be the Dragon Start Expression trying to stack up his Rage Bar right now. Is it going to be enough? Nope, not in the least.
SKT picked the absolute correct time to take Dragon. 2,200 gold on Frozen. Just with the items complete, there was no way that IM could really contest. I mean, Frozen had already started his recall as Dragon was started, as Mega Gnar was down. This is the sign of a top team.
Yep. And Janna, too, going for the Medjais this game. So Wolf showing a little bit of confidence, I would say. A lot of times we do see the Talisman first these days onto the Janna, but Peekaboo, Wolf, they like to go for the AP. Very comfortable in the fact that they won't be dying. And you know what? Oh, Frozen. And Spooky's there, though. He's answering. And will he get stunned by the gravity field? Yes, he will. Summoner heal popped by EasyHoon. Can he turn this around? Great 1v2 from EasyHoon. And that's why this Victor is such a threat in the early game. Once you get that mid lane turret down, you see it takes more than one person to deal with him, and sometimes that's not even enough.
And there's just not much a warrior Evelyn, a melee champion, is able to do to EasyHoon, even though he himself had about 2,000 gold unspent as well. So the power of Victor early, it's definitely there. Can IM finally get to the part of the game where Frozen is relevant, though? He's finished now his first major item in terms of Ludens, and he's pushing up the CDR, but it's certainly about an item short of true relevance.
Yeah, and behind EasyHoon too, and we've seen how fast these Victors can blow up the Ezreals, and with Marin, he ever gets that twisted advance, you can bet that EasyHoon could just flash in there and one-shot him, turning the tides of a team fight for sure. Bang still hanging on to his tower in the bottom side.
It's impressive given the fact that it is Tristana versus Vayne, just on a very simple level. A lot more pushing options available for Tristana. Both of them have the Avarice Blade, both of them have very similar parts of power. Although we do see Static Shiv finally finished by Raw.
Yep. Well, I'm actually surprised that SK Telecom is playing this as if it were Benki and Faker now. Look at the deep wards on the camps. They have great vision of Evelyn on red, on blue, on wolves. They're able to go ahead and monopolize the scuttle crabs with the Victor too. And Victor just coming up into the top side right now. There's no one up there. Tom and EasyHoon walking out of the brush. They will be seen, but they're just going to all in onto this tower. SK Telecom knows how to play against low wave clear mid laners. It's like no matter what their roster is.
And remember, this was a full health turret that's not going to drop instantly. They had more pressure on the bottom side. That would have been the easier turret to rotate around. But Expression chunked out, backing. They knew he wasn't going to teleport back to the turret. And Frozen gets some free time with the mid lane turret, but it's no AD Ezreal.
No, it is not. Missed there, and he's going to dodge the True Shot barrage, but still took a bit of damage from the Ez.
Boots too, and of course the Q augment means that you can just sidestep line skill shots quite easily.
Nice response though from Incredible Miracle. They will take the tier 1 versus the Vayne, as could be expected. Expression actually finishing a Banshee's Veil after his Hex Drinker right now, so he really just wants to ignore Marin's damage and be able to trade. And here he goes. Marin may be in a bit of trouble. He's going to dodge that stun, actually come back around with the twisted advance. He's still on the run, but the Runeglaive Ezreal is there. TP, and there is no more stun. Goodbye! He lives with about 100 HP.
That was clutch play from Marin. We're watching the True Shot barrage.
Oh, is he going to hit him? No. I got excited. It was too late on the recall. Marin already has those home guard boots, has had them for quite some time. So a simple jaunt out, and Marin just waiting out those stuns from the Gnar. And he gets out in one piece.
But crucially, Monte Cristo, Expression missed both the W and the Gnar ultimate, not even registering the damage on the ultimate, let alone the CC effect. So mechanical misplay from this player who has looked good in fits and spurts, but struggling so far this game.
Yeah, he is. Just not with the lead that you would expect in this particular situation, given how much better Marin's map play has been and the amount of time and resources he has dedicated to ganking this mid lane early. EasyHoon has to flash out as Expression finds him in the river. Lots of wards in there, but apparently missed the prehistoric Yordle.
While the general macro play has been the same from SKT, the aggression hasn't been, but maybe we'll see it now.
Nope.
Nope. I hoped for it, but that's the thing, is the gold lead's actually really even, so Frozen's getting through this early awkward phase for Runeglaive Ezreal. We're 25 minutes in, dragons are even, turrets are even. It feels like SKT were making the right moves, but not actually pushing it in terms of getting those big advantages.
Well, credit to Roar too, because this Tristana has allowed them to answer in terms of turret kills, which is absolutely huge. Just punishing the fact that Bang cannot keep those explosive shots from going down onto the towers themselves. 45 seconds until the next dragon. TP will be down for both of our top laners. Looks like Bang and Wolf actually just going to go for a Baron right now, trying to sneak it out. Everybody recalled now. They're going to see it with the True Shot barrage, but can they get to it in time? Looks like the answer is nope. It's going to be close, though. There could be a fight. Monsoon burned at the beginning just for a heal. It's going to be a close one. 1,600 HP, and they are going to get it. Oh no, it's stolen! Spooky got in there and took it at the last second. Tom didn't use his smite. Now Marin low. Double kill for Bang, though. Starting to move through the enemy team. Frozen gets the other side of the wall. Flash onto Frozen. Roar is there with the summoner heal. Now Bang trying to kite this out. Explosive shot. It's not going to be enough. Double kill for Roar. Here come the resets. Can he keep going, Tom? Parallel convergence. Easy Hoon will destroy him. Still had the Chaos Storm. And can they get out? The gravity field is barely going to be enough. And Frozen will hit the Q. And one more true shot barrage. No. Wolf will dodge.
We're still not done. Will the bounce over the minions come through? No, just off cooldown. Gonna go for it anyway.
Parallel convergence. Stun. But no. That's going to be a flash for Tom. He gets out. Nar will die to the tower. Well, that was wacky. I mean, I am so surprised. SK Telecom had a split call there. They definitely could have gotten that Baron had Tom committed to being into the pit. That is a big mistake from Tom.
Used the phase dive offensively to fight, so the call must have been split. That's the only thing that could come up because the smite was available and just not used, casually stolen by Spooky.
Yeah, he just walked in there basically. So we take a look at this 1,600 HP, and Tom is there. Tom, just do the Baron.
Bang is doing the Baron. Tom is not. So someone was not communicating that fight. It got comical, like you mentioned. There was actually some very good individual outplays. Frozen just used the arcane shift over. Bang will flash, but of course Raw's there to do damage and eventually take down Bang. But the smite, that's the big question. The communication's certainly not the same.
Well, and this is what we talk about when Bang plays Vayne, though. He flashed that wall seemingly without having Condemn off cooldown, so that's a bit of a question mark right there. You have to have that CC if you're going into a situation where the Tristana and the Ezreal can instantly turn on you.
Really sloppy fight. Frozen missed a couple of autos. Actually, attack moved and hit the ward instead of doing a second auto attack onto Janna. Could have gone very differently, but I am suddenly slightly ahead in gold. But honestly, we're pretty much all even at this point. Only really Baron buff on Frozen.
Here we go. Parallel convergence will not land. Dragon for Incredible Miracle. Their second of the game. They are up by 500 gold after stealing that Baron and going even in that last team fight. And this is where it starts to get scary for SKT. That mistake right there is absolutely huge because look at this, chunked out, and you have to deal with a Tristana just nuking your tower from long range. Marin has TP, but he's got to get a flank in order to really slow this down.
Only person with counterplay to the true shot barrage and then
right scoring. He's going to find himself on the Roar. Marin does get chunked out. Easy Hoon not yet in the back line. Tom manages to find his way into the back, but this is just a stalling tactic. Gravity field dropped to zone out IM's re-engage. You can't just come head on like that.
Tried it with the righteous glory. He needs to commit to the teleport. That's the big way to deal with this, but you see very clearly that true shot barrage already chunking with the snowball void stuff picked up by Frozen. They just catch that. They have no other initiate barring that flank. If they can't get that, turrets are going to roll really fast.
Yeah, and SKT looked solid early, but the answering turrets from the Tristana made it so we had an even gold game. They tried to sneak the Baron. I actually think it was a good call. I think they could have gotten it and turned, but the split call at the Baron really hurt SK Telecom, and they give it up, and a whole handful of kills too. So playing a defensive game, maybe they can still pull it out. Remember, this Runeglaive Ezreal, as powerful as he is very killable from a Maokai and a Victor. So if they can get Frozen down early in a fight, they can still win.
Almost feel like Frozen should abandon whichever needlessly large rod item is building into and build a QSS.
Absolutely.
He can't take cleanse. That's the big factor. The one place that you can outplay Runeglaive Ezreal is the lack of any sort of cleanse, despite being this squishy backline. Not really control mage, but high damage mage like a Cogmore, for example. So needs that QSS to be safe. Otherwise, as you mentioned, the outplay is very simple for Marin if they get that flank ward, though.
Yeah, they have to deliver some sort of play on that regard. But look at how well IM's playing. They've got pink wards on both their flanks right now. They know what the name of the game is here, and they're trying to deny it as best they can. Some sort of play coming in from behind, and they are absolutely going to stuff any kind of teleport. They'll be able to kite very easily. More pink wards going down. There's a big chunk out of EasyHoon.
Session just hit Mega Gnar, so we'll be tired very soon. They commit to stealing the blue buff. Frozen able to smite that away easily. Nothing else to fight around this area. I feel like IM should just be fighting in the open. That's where they're safest. It's only the two flank wards, actually the flank pinks, that have stuck pretty well for SKT.
That is a small prize, though, considering they cannot... Well, they actually did sneak a ward into the lane there. So if Marin goes back, maybe he can TP onto that. And looks like that is what the plan is going to be. He is going to recall. They want to make a play right now. And there we go. Parallel Convergence not going to strike the Tristana. And we can see Marin just holding in the base right now. They snuck that one ward in, but they're just so chunked out that they cannot make a play. Marin has to come forward.
I really love this duo of the Runegrave Ezreal and the Tristana. Just because the turret damage when you get the poke off is just amazing. SKT, remember this. Remember that big win over Jin-Air where they won it right at the end through the high damage that Bang had on the Tristana. And there's no counterplay, as we mentioned, barring that flank.
Well, and this is the thing, though. IM's composition looks good because it went well in the early game. It would be very different without Engage. If they were trying to play this from 4 or 5k gold behind, they would pretty much just get smashed.
I feel like it also would have gone very differently if Tom was on a champion like Gragas. Now, there's been nothing wrong with his Echo play, but Echo has a lot more situational factors, needs to get a lot more coordination down both with him and the Maokai to have any realistic Engage options. Gragas can just do his own thing, flash, ult, just divide up and conquer. And the Echo, when it works great, but when it needs to be reliable, which it does at this present point, you make a mistake with the Echo, you're going to die because you're just not that tank.
Yeah, you definitely not yet. With only that locket, trying to build into Warden's Mail right now, but
Frozen's still not building a QSS. He's still going for damage. That's the hope for SKT, is that the first time they can actually get that kill on Frozen, there will be both Baron and Dragon live to contest for.
Yeah, and he doesn't really need to build the damage either because the Tristana is doing well in her own right.
Speaking of damage, at this present point, this is when, for example, yesterday, KT versus Ku, against that jungle Nidalee comp where they knew Aegis wasn't being bought, both their top laner and their AD carry third item QSS, whereas QSS is going to be a fourth item at best for both Frozen and Raw.
Yeah, very delayed. And interestingly, Wolf actually moving towards that Frost Queen's claim here. That's not an item that we actually see very often.
It's actually just 10 is probably going to be all you can hope for, but it feels like maybe Coin was too far away. Mikhail's also now going to be a long way away. Wolf, you know, that's when you commit to the Medjais and the team fights haven't been going away. In fact, the engages have been just so difficult. If you have great true engage, Marin is the only one who can do that. Medjais can be fine, but when you're just sitting on the 1,400 gold investment, feel a bit sheepish.
Yeah, well, Expression having no trouble split pushing into the tier 2. They want to set up, stack up these dragons for sure. SK Telecom taking a look at what they can do, but they don't have very much vision in the river yet, and a lot of that just cleared out. The help of Frozen and his Raptor buff. Is this going to be a fight for SKT? Marin is on the flank, but they see him right now. And they're going to go for it, and no, that will be taken by Ezreal, actually. Now the fight erupting after that. Roar and Frozen untouched in the backline right now. Spooky trying to run interference in the front, but they're all getting very low. Expression gets an ult off, but Bang gets into the pit. Expression still zoning well. Ignar will fall to EasyHoon. Spooky already dead, but everyone else so low. Can IM turn this around right now? Looks like they do not want to go for it. And everyone's so low, but maybe, just maybe, they can do a Baron right now as Marin has his TP.
Yeah, you can see that both Frozen and Raw were meandering around Dragon. They walk straight to Baron. They even pop the Summoner heal, and then they try and rush it down.
This is an all-in play from SK Telecom. Frozen is there. He's going to be looking to toss his ultimate up. It is up. There's the True Shot Barrage coming through. It's going to be too late, but can it take anybody out? No. As Tom gets over the backside of the pit, so SK Telecom turn it into a Baron. Expression comes through with his TP, but it's just too late.
So 2 decisive Baron calls. The first one stolen away from Spooky, and that's what let IM really get the control, start to push with their very strong pushing comp. Second time, they pull it off. Felt like Frozen and Raw kind of just walked around the Dragon, just late to realize that the Baron threat was really high to the 5 members.
Yeah, so just those 2 kills, they took out the necessary members. They took out one of the smites, and Frozen was a bit too low. So SK Telecom with a ballsy call works out the second time after their first Baron attempt was not less than successful. We can say that.
It's definitely thwarted.
Sloppy.
Definitely thwarted like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Well, the idea was good. It's just the execution was the lacking part right there. You could definitely tell that maybe this group of guys doesn't have as much experience playing with one another.
It's not just competitive. They wouldn't have had that much time scrimming together either. So just one of the realities when you do run these substitute players. Their hiding strategies, that's effective. And again, the result isn't a big factor for them. If IM pick up the victory, it's a bit embarrassing. If IM pick up a game, again, it doesn't affect anything for SKT.
No, and it doesn't really affect that much for Incredible Miracle either.
Prize money, maybe?
Yeah. Got it. All right, Wolf is going to get caught out. Misses his tornado right there, but EasyHoon is there to back him up. There's another parallel convergence. He's going to get the stun. Oh, he misses the stun. Ignar just on the outside. Grounded field goes down to help him escape. Roar wants it, forces the flash out of Wolf with the rocket jump. Bang. Turning this around, perhaps. No, just going to back off. That is the smart move right there. Marin left to split push. However, big overcommitment from LZIM to that bottom lane. And how many turrets are they going to be able to get with this Baron right now? Just nobody there, and Marin takes an easy tier 2.
Execution was what we mentioned that really put SKT behind.
Nobody there in the mid lane either. What is this?
Sloppy play from IM. Neither of their top laners had teleport. That's why they committed 5 members, but getting no picks and now losing 2 turrets. Wow. Suddenly, a gold lead for SKT.
But this is what IM can't do, is create picks. They have no tools to create picks. Basically, you're relying on Ignar hitting some sort of Winter's Bite. He doesn't even have flash to flash Glacial Fissure or to flash Q on the Braum. So Spooky maybe could get a flank and an Agony's Embrace, but there's a lot of tools on SKT to get out of that situation.
On a simple level, of course, getting a pick when the enemy team has Baron, you're like, okay, if we get that pick, we see one member separated, we'll get a pick that'll halt any pushing with the Baron. But then you just don't have to, you have to actually take into account, Spooky had to use a one-man Agony's Embrace to have any sort of engage. Couldn't get it, and then just get super punished around the map.
Yeah, IM definitely had the wave clear to resist some of these sieges too. It's not like Vayne Victor is going to be the most deadly siege when you have the wave clear from that Runeglaive Ezreal and the Tristana. So that was a bit of a misplay in terms of the composition from Incredible Miracle, and they get punished really hard for it. I mean, 2 towers already, and that's going to give a small gold lead to SK Telecom.
EasyHoon seems to have heard your words regarding turret pushing. It's gone for the Lich Bane, which has been left out of a lot of Victor builds recently. You'll notice they doesn't pick up the Morellonomicon. Most Victor players, CDR boots and then just those CDR per level runes. Because the one thing for Victor, of course, he doesn't have the luxury of having 6 item slots. He has the Hex Core. So if you can get around those CDR items with the likes of the blue buff, with just some flat mana from both the Hex Core upgrades and the Lich Bane, you do get that flexibility to move in something for the situation. And Lich Bane, at least they can threaten taking down turrets with an item like that on Victor.
Yeah, and those Hex Core changes too were very critical for Victor's viability, because he actually did have a much more efficient item there. In spite of, it changed the builds a lot, obviously, but it's nice to see that that change was made, because it used to be just a useless item in the late game.
And the unheralded part to me, everyone remembers the AP per level and the effects, but just the flat mana is just a larger mana pool to be able to harass in lane, to be able to wave clear. There's a very high mana cost on the E, for example, but without having to go into an item like Morellonomicon or Athene's, that flat mana, it's not the same, it's not a replacement, but if you control blue buff and you get that percentage regen, it gets you through what used to be a much tougher laning phase for Victor.
It does. So, Dragon the next objective right here. Crab controlled by SK Telecom, 15 seconds to that, but IM pushing up the river right now. Looks like Maokai wants to come through. A lot of wards deep inside the jungle. Now they're starting to, SKT starting to, yep, there's the ping onto that ward. They set up the teleport. They're going to come on through. They want to come through right by the Wraith Crush. Now they know he's there. He's going to smash Roar out of the air and then Twisted advance him. Roar stuck, but can they actually pull this through? Marin is huge. Marin is on top of Roar right now. Tom gets back onto Frozen, but he's the first one to die in this fight. Roar goes down right after him, and Bang now on the outside. Can't quite kill Expression. Expression low. Hex Drinker has been popped. There is Spooky. Flash, Monsoon, Ignar trying to block some of this damage. Gets the concussive blows down onto Bang. EasyHoon's already dead. Marin's back in the fight right now. Marin gets onto Frozen, and there we go. There are the procs. Bang very, very low, but he stays alive for the double kill. Lifesteal tanking it out, and that is going to be an ace. Wow, Marin was so huge in that fight. Hit the Arcane Smash on the rocket jump, immediate Twisted advance, and then coming back around to lock up Frozen. That is exactly how Marin had to outplay IM to win this game.
Outplay is the right word, Monte Cristo. The mechanical outplay is required by SKT in a 3v4. Remember, two members, EasyHoon and Tom, died instantly. Roar was down for IM, but crucially, Frozen missed all of the Ezreal damage, and Bang stayed alive, much like KT's Arrow did yesterday. Put out the damage. They might not be able to finish just yet, but they're going to try.
Well, they're at least going to leave an open Nexus. I don't think they can do much more than that. That's about as far as they can go.
Spooky's up with his
nope, they're going to go for it. A little bit bold. Marin is low. Roar is up. They're going to get it right there. Enough damage from Bang with the help of that additional attack damage from Wolf on the Eye of the Storm, and that is going to be a surprising win from SK Telecom. And to be fair, it shows a lot of credit to their execution and their shot calling in that game. By the way, Marin did, I believe, the most damage in that game.
Wasn't sure about that. That wasn't
I
damage
didn't see
to champions, I believe. But look, let's not give too much praise to SKT. They were a bit sloppy about translating a smart early game into any advantages in the mid game. IM made a lot of mistakes around Baron, stealing one away, then giving away a